Have you ever wondered why that narcissist in your life seems to be thriving while you suffer in silence? Why do they seem to escape all consequences while you carry the emotional scars? Today, I'm going to show you something that will completely change your perspective on this situation. The great Wayne Dyer used to say that the universe has its own laws, and one of them is that nothing, absolutely nothing, escapes divine justice. What appears to be impunity is just the time that God is giving for the bill to be presented. You're about to discover the 6 irrefutable proofs that God never leaves a narcissist unpunished. And when I say never, I mean never. Every manipulation, every lie, every time they made you question your own sanity, all of this is being recorded in the universe's book of accounts. The problem is that we, human beings, want immediate justice. We want to see the narcissist being confronted today, paying for their evil deeds right now. But divine justice doesn't work on our time. It works on God's perfect timing. For years, you may have wondered, why is God allowing this? The truth is that God isn't allowing anything. He's orchestrating something much greater, a justice so perfect that when it finally manifests, even you will be impressed with its precision. Prepare yourself to understand how the universe works silently but relentlessly against those who choose the path of manipulation and emotional abuse. The first proof that God never leaves a narcissist unpunished is happening right now inside their mind. While you suffer externally, they're experiencing an internal hell that you can't even imagine. Wayne Dyer explained that when someone lives disconnected from true love, that person becomes a kind of emotional black hole. No matter how much the narcissist tries to fill themselves with external validation, praise, achievements, or power over others, there's a corrosive emptiness inside them that will never, ever be filled. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how a narcissist is never truly satisfied? They can have everything, money, status, people around them, but they always need more. More attention, more control, more domination. Why? Because internally they are emotional beggars disguised as kings. The Bible shows us this clearly when it says that whoever does not have love has nothing. The narcissist may have conquered the entire world, but if they've lost the ability to genuinely love, they literally have nothing of real value. While you, even when hurt, can still feel compassion, can still love, still have hope, the narcissist lives in an emotional desert where nothing grows. Every morning they wake up with this feeling of emptiness that no external achievement can cure. They know this. Deep in their soul, there's a consciousness constantly whispering that something is terribly wrong. That's why the compulsive need to control, to dominate, to make you feel small. It's not about you, it's about their internal desperation. Imagine living every day of your life feeling like you're a fraud, that you need to maintain a mask all the time because your true self is unacceptable. Imagine never being able to relax, never being able to be authentic, always calculating how to manipulate the next situation. This is the first divine punishment, an internal prison from which they can never escape. While you can cry, feel pain, and then find relief, they live in a constant state of internal tension, always running from themselves. And now tell me something. From which city are you watching this video? I'm curious to know where the people are who are discovering these profound truths about divine justice. Leave it there in the comments. But this is just the beginning. The second proof is even more devastating. The second proof that God never leaves a narcissist unpunished is the progressive isolation they build around themselves. Wayne Dyer always said that the universe gives us exactly what we emanate, and narcissists emanate toxicity, so inevitably they attract loneliness. You might be thinking, but he has so many friends, so many people around him. The truth is that narcissists don't have friends. They have an audience, they have pieces on their chessboard, they have sources of emotional supply. But genuine connections, those they can never form. Observe carefully the long-term trajectory of any narcissist, and you'll see a devastating pattern. Destroyed relationships, lost opportunities, projects that started well but ended in chaos, people who distance themselves one by one. It may take years, it may take decades, but it inevitably happens. The mask of charm and charisma they use in the beginning works for a limited time. When people start to see through this facade, when they realize they've been manipulated, when they finally understand they've been used, they simply disappear. And what's most fascinating is that the narcissist doesn't understand why this happens. They genuinely believe they're victims, that people are ungrateful or can't recognize their value. This lack of self-awareness is part of divine punishment. Think about your own experience. How many times did you try to explain to the narcissist in your life how they hurt you? And what was the response? Denial, blame reversal, victimization of themselves. They're incapable of seeing their own responsibility in the destruction of their relationships. Over time, this inability to form real connections transforms into a deep and corrosive loneliness. They may be surrounded by people, but they're fundamentally alone because no one really knows them, and they don't truly know anyone. The Bible speaks about this when it mentions that every deception will be discovered. The lies, manipulations, and masks of a narcissist cannot sustain themselves indefinitely. At some point, the truth comes to light, and when it comes, it's devastating. Imagine discovering that all your relationships are based on lies, that people are only close to you out of fear, convenience, or because they haven't yet discovered who you really are. This is the second divine punishment, an existential loneliness that intensifies with the passing years. While you can heal your relationships, can create genuine bonds, can be loved for what you really are, they're condemned to live on an emotional island they built themselves. And this brings us to the third proof, which is even deeper. The third proof that God never leaves a narcissist unpunished is the complete absence of inner peace they experience daily. Wayne Dyer always emphasized that peace is the natural state of those who are aligned with the divine, and narcissists live in constant internal war. Have you ever noticed how a narcissist can never be silent with themselves? They always need distraction, drama, some kind of external stimulation. Do you know why? Because when they're alone with their own thoughts, hell manifests. Imagine living with an inner voice that constantly whispers, "You're a fraud. People are going to find out who you really are. You don't deserve to be loved." This is the daily reality of a narcissist. That's why the compulsive need to create conflicts, to manipulate situations, to maintain chaos around them. External chaos serves as an escape from internal chaos. When they're creating drama in other people's lives, they can temporarily escape the drama happening inside their own mind. But it's only temporary. True peace, the kind you can find even in the middle of a storm, is something they will never experience while remaining on the path of narcissism. The Bible promises peace that surpasses all understanding for those who trust in God. But this peace is impossible for those who live centered on themselves. Wayne Dyer used to say that when we're at peace, we're connected to our divine source. Narcissists have disconnected from this source and now live in constant agitation, always seeking in the external world something that can only be found internally. Think about how you feel when you're genuinely at peace, relaxed, grateful, connected to something greater than yourself. Now imagine never being able to access this state. Imagine that your mind was a radio station, permanently tuned to the frequency of anxiety, fear, and the need for control. This internal agitation manifests in various ways: insomnia, compulsive need to check social media, inability to appreciate simple moments, always needing to be doing something to escape from themselves. While you, even hurt by the experience with the narcissist, can still find moments of serenity, of gratitude, of spiritual connection, they're trapped in a mental hamster wheel that never stops spinning. And the most tragic thing is that they don't even know what they're missing. Like someone who was born blind doesn't know what it's like to see colors. They have no idea what it's like to have genuine inner peace. This is the third divine punishment, living in perpetual internal agitation, always running from themselves. But wait until you discover the fourth proof. The fourth proof that God never leaves a narcissist unpunished is perhaps the cruelest of all. They're incapable of receiving the genuine love they so desperately seek. Wayne Dyer always said that you can only receive what you believe you deserve, and narcissists deep down believe they don't deserve true love. This may sound contradictory after all. Narcissists seem to think they're superior to everyone. But this superiority is a mask that hides a deep wound of inadequacy. They know on some unconscious level that their personality is an artificial construction, and therefore don't trust that someone can genuinely love them. Think about the tragic irony of this. The only thing that could heal their internal wound is exactly what they systematically reject. When someone offers unconditional love to a narcissist, they immediately distrust, question motives, or simply can't process this experience. You've probably already tried to love a narcissist unconditionally. And what happened? They distorted your love, transformed it into something that served their purposes or simply didn't know how to receive it. It's like offering water to someone who died of thirst, but who can't open their mouth to drink. The Bible teaches us that God is love, and when we disconnect from love, we disconnect from God. Narcissists live this disconnection daily. They can simulate love, they can manipulate using words of love, they may even feel a distorted version of what they believe to be love. But true love, sacrificial, unconditional, that's beyond their capacity. Wayne Dyer explained that love is a vibrational frequency. When we're on this frequency, we attract more love, feel more love, radiate more love. Narcissists are tuned to a frequency of neediness, fear, and control. The opposite of love, and here's the most devastating aspect of this punishment. They spend their entire life desperately seeking something they reject whenever it's genuinely offered. It's like being eternally hungry, but being incapable of digesting any food that's offered. Imagine never being able to completely trust anyone, never being able to completely relax in someone's arms, never being able to believe that someone loves you for who you really are, because you yourself don't know who you really are behind all the masks. This unconscious rejection of love creates a vicious cycle. The more they reject genuine love, the emptier they feel. The emptier they feel, the more desperately they seek external validation. The more they seek external validation, the further they move away from true love. This is the fourth divine punishment, being eternally thirsty for what you yourself are rejecting. The fifth proof will show you how this manifests in the physical world. The fifth proof that God never leaves a narcissist unpunished is the systematic deterioration of everything they touch. Wayne Dyer used to say that we're like magnets. We attract into our life what we are inside. Narcissists, being internally destructive, inevitably destroy everything around them. Observe carefully the long-term trajectory of any narcissist, and you'll see a devastating pattern. Destroyed relationships, lost opportunities, projects that started well but ended in chaos, people who distanced themselves, companies that went bankrupt, shattered families. It may seem like they're successful in the present moment, but if you analyze the totality of their life, you'll see a trail of destruction that seems to follow their steps. It's as if they carry an invisible curse that contaminates everything around them. The reason for this is profound. Narcissists can't nurture anything. They don't know how to cultivate relationships, how to make something grow in a healthy way, how to be a constructive force in someone's life. Everything needs to serve their ego, and when something or someone stops serving, it's discarded or sabotaged. Think about the relationships they've had. How many ended traumatically? How many people left these relationships more wounded than when they entered? How many stories of crazy exes do they tell, without realizing that the common denominator in all these relationships was themselves? In the professional sphere, it's the same thing. They may have moments of brilliance, periods where everything seems to be working, but inevitably they create conflicts, generate instability, transform healthy environments into battlefields. Co-workers start avoiding them. Projects implicitly suffer sabotage. Team productivity plummets. And with children, this is perhaps the most tragic manifestation of this deterioration. Children of narcissists frequently develop emotional problems, relationship difficulties, self-esteem issues that take years to heal. What should be the most nurturing relationship of life transforms into a source of trauma. The Bible speaks about this when it mentions that by their fruits you will know them. The fruits in a narcissist's life are inevitably bitter, even when they seem sweet on the surface. Wayne Dyer explained that when we live misaligned with our divine purpose, we create a destructive energy field around us. It's as if they were a stone being thrown into water. The waves of destruction spread in concentric circles, affecting everything and everyone around. And what's most fascinating is that they rarely connect the dots. In their mind, all these failures are the fault of other factors: incomprehensible partners, jealous colleagues, ungrateful children, unlucky situations. They never recognize the pattern, never take responsibility for the constant deterioration. This is the fifth divine punishment, being a destructive force that contaminates everything around them, creating a legacy of pain and destruction. But the sixth proof is the most definitive of all. The sixth and most devastating proof that God never leaves a narcissist unpunished is the merciless mirror that time represents for them. Wayne Dyer always said that time reveals all truths, and for narcissists this revelation is brutally painful. When we're young, it's easier to hide character deficiencies behind physical appearance, superficial charm, youthful energy. But time is the great equalizer, and narcissists age in a particularly cruel way because they built their entire identity on foundations that inevitably crumble. Observe a narcissist aging, and you'll see something you could almost pity. The physical beauty that so defined them begins to disappear. The superficial charm no longer works like before. The energy to maintain all the masks begins to fail. And what remains when all this is gone? The answer is terrifying for them, nothing substantial. People who built genuine relationships, who invested in character, who developed internal virtues. These people age with grace and dignity. They have a legacy of love, precious memories, deep relationships that sustain them in old age. But narcissists, they reach 50, 60, 70 years old and realize they spent entire decades pursuing illusions. The children they manipulated now avoid them. The spouses they dominated either divorced or became empty shells. The friends they impressed disappeared when the show ended. The mirror of time doesn't lie. Each wrinkle, each gray hair, each physical limitation is a reminder that the mask is falling and there's no way to stop this process. For someone who built their entire identity on appearances and impressions caused on others, this is daily psychological torture. Wayne Dyer explained that when we reach the end of life, the only things that really matter are the love we give and receive, the relationships we build, the character we develop. Narcissists reach this phase of life and discover they're in debt in all these areas. The loneliness in old age of a narcissist is something particularly cruel. While people of character are surrounded by grateful children, loving grandchildren, loyal friends who remain even when youth is gone, narcissists often end up alone, paying caregivers for company because no one genuinely cares. And the worst part, they know. In moments of lucidity, they realize what they lost, what they wasted, the opportunities for genuine love they rejected. But it's too late to rebuild decades of destroyed relationships. The Bible speaks about this when it mentions that everything has its time under heaven. The time to hide behind masks comes to an end. The time to impress with appearances runs out. The time to manipulate and control ends when you no longer have energy to maintain these strategies. This is the sixth and cruelest divine punishment, discovering too late that you wasted your only life pursuing shadows while rejecting everything that had real substance. Now that you know the 6 proofs, it's important to understand that these aren't coincidences or theories. Wayne Dyer always taught that there are universal laws as inviolable as the law of gravity, and narcissists can't escape them no matter how much they try. The first of these laws is the law of attraction. Narcissists emanate frequencies of neediness, fear, and control, and inevitably attract situations that reflect these frequencies. They can temporarily mask these vibrations with charm and manipulation, but the essence always manifests. The second is the law of reciprocity. What we send to the universe comes back to us multiplied. Narcissists send manipulation, lies, and selfishness, and receive back distrust, loneliness, and superficial relationships. They may not perceive this connection, but it's operating constantly. The third is the law of responsibility. Everything we do generates consequences, and these consequences find us in the universe's perfect timing. Narcissists accumulate an enormous energetic debt through their actions, and this debt is always collected, sometimes after decades. Wayne Dyer used to say, "You can't have a happy life built on the unhappiness of others." This is an incontrovertible spiritual law. Narcissists try to build their happiness by sucking the energy and joy from other people, but this creates a cosmic deficit that needs to be balanced. The fourth law is that of divine transparency. God sees everything. Each hidden motivation, each subtle manipulation, each lie told. Narcissists can deceive people for years, but they can never deceive the universe. The truth about them is being recorded at a level they can't even imagine. And here's something fascinating. The more a narcissist tries to control their image and manipulate perceptions, the more the universe works to expose the truth. It's as if there were an invisible force dedicated to undoing all the false constructions they create. The fifth law is that of impermanence. Nothing that is built on lies and manipulation can last forever. Marriages based on control end, careers built on exploitation crumble, relationships sustained by fear dissolve. Impermanence is especially cruel with artificial constructions. The sixth law is that of perfect justice. The universe doesn't make mistakes. Each person receives exactly the experiences necessary for their spiritual growth. For narcissists, these experiences include isolation, emptiness, and deterioration, not as cruel punishment, but as opportunities for awakening. What many don't realize is that even divine punishment is a form of love. God doesn't give up on anyone. Each negative consequence in a narcissist's life is an opportunity to awaken, to recognize the error of the path, to choose change. But here's the tragedy. Narcissists rarely take advantage of these opportunities. They interpret the consequences as bad luck or others' fault, missing the chance for transformation. After understanding these 6 proofs, you might be feeling a mixture of relief and maybe even a certain satisfaction, imagining the narcissist in your life finally receiving what they deserve. But Wayne Dyer taught us something crucial. When we stay focused on others' punishment, we run the risk of becoming toxic too. True wisdom isn't in celebrating others' suffering, even when that suffering is a consequence of destructive choices. Wisdom is in using this understanding for our own freedom and spiritual growth. First, understand that knowing these truths should bring you peace, not a thirst for revenge. You no longer need to carry the weight of making justice because divine justice is already operating perfectly. Your job is to free yourself from toxicity, not perpetuate it. Second, use this knowledge to establish healthy boundaries. When you understand that the narcissist in your life is experiencing their own internal consequences, it becomes easier not to personalize their attacks. It's not about you. It's about the internal hell they carry. Third, practice detached compassion. Wayne Dyer always said that we can have compassion for someone without sacrificing ourselves for that person. You can feel sorry for the narcissist's emotional prison without offering yourself as a jailer or fellow prisoner. Fourth, focus on your own healing. The energy you spent trying to understand, control, or change the narcissist should be redirected to your own growth. Use this difficult experience as fuel to become a stronger, wiser, more compassionate person. Fifth, don't become a narcissist hunter. Some survivors of narcissistic abuse develop an obsession with identifying and exposing narcissists everywhere. This can become a new form of toxicity. Keep the focus on your own well-being. The Bible teaches us that vengeance belongs to God. This means you can let go of this responsibility from your hands. You don't need to be the instrument of divine justice. It's already operating without your interference. Sixth, cultivate gratitude for the experience. No matter how painful your experience with a narcissist was, it taught you valuable lessons about boundaries, self-esteem, discernment, and inner strength. This experience, however cruel it was, contributed to your spiritual evolution. Remember, the opposite of narcissism isn't eternal victimization. It's integrity. It's living aligned with your values. It's choosing love without being naive. It's being strong without being cruel. Wayne Dyer reminded us that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Change your perspective on this difficult experience. True victory over narcissism doesn't happen when the narcissist gets what's coming to them. It happens when you free yourself from the need to see them getting what's coming to them. It's when you're so full of your own abundant and meaningful life that there's no mental space left to monitor the consequences they're facing. Wayne Dyer always said that forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about our own freedom. When you truly understand that universal laws are taking care of justice, you can finally let go of the rope and dedicate yourself to what really matters, building an extraordinary life. Think of it this way. While the narcissist is trapped in the consequences of their own choices, you have the opportunity to make completely different choices. You can choose authenticity instead of manipulation. You can choose genuine relationships instead of connections based on control. You can choose inner peace instead of constant agitation. Your life becomes the opposite of theirs. While they deteriorate inside, you strengthen. While they isolate themselves, you build community. While they reject love, you learn to receive and give love in healthy ways. While they destroy everything they touch, you become a healing force in the world. This is true divine justice. It's not that God is going to get the narcissist, it's that God is going to give you the opportunity to completely transcend this experience and live a life they could never imagine. The Bible promises that all things work together for good for those who love God. This includes even the painful experience with a narcissist. This experience is being transformed by the divine into wisdom, strength, compassion, and discernment that you'll carry for your entire life. Wayne Dyer reminded us that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And that experience with narcissism, it was just a small part of your much larger spiritual journey. Now you know the truth. God never leaves a narcissist unpunished, but also never abandons those who choose the path of love and integrity. The 6 proofs you discovered today aren't just about them, they're about the perfection of universal laws that protect and elevate all who choose to live aligned with the divine. If this video brought clarity and peace to your life, share it with someone who needs this message. And subscribe to the channel to continue discovering these profound truths about relationships, spirituality, and emotional freedom. Divine justice is real, it's perfect, and it's always operating. Trust the process.